Hey guys, how's it going? Just wanted to kind of film a quick video in the morning as the day starts. We're kind of entering the week now. The market's been a bit slow yesterday. There was a few opportunities, but nothing that I could say was really good quality. Going into this week, it's a little bit of a slower week. So this is a week where I would personally suggest practicing more patience. It's a week where previously, if I was to be, not as experienced, I would be taking a lot more unnecessary trades, but I think this is where your expertise comes into place and you realize that you are now going into a slower period where the market's accumulating volume and then going to be executing. A lot of us have been looking at the DXY, and the DXY is interesting because we have tapped into that very nice area of interest that we were looking at, where essentially we've kind of come into that 50% region just over here, where this is quite nice again because we might see the turnaround here. I'm not necessarily convinced 100% just yet because we've only just tapped into it and pushed away. So we do need to see some follow through, in my opinion. We did have an entry on EURUSD, but very subjective one, of course. I am going to be looking for something a little bit more significant, so it will be more so just kind of like a drops off, creates continuation, then we go, and then we can get positioned on counter related pairs, and that's basically as simple as I'm going to be looking for it. I will be a little bit more semi-aggressive with my management, meaning that I will be trailing with positions but a little bit extra above, just giving it a little bit of extra breathing room because this can materialize into quite a big trade, and as we know, the trades earlier on in the run tend to be the highest probability. So positioning yourself in this area here is extremely let's say, well, it's really good in your favor, but the thing is it's very high risk as well at the same time, so you'd have to be very situational to want to take that. If you look on the 15, there was something which you could probably make out in here, which was translatable into a lot of related pairs. I just don't think that this was the best trade for me. Not one that I would have really just kind of said, hey, I missed that trade, but really and truly it's just a trade. There's going to be an abundance of trades on the way down, so if you did miss the next one, the one after that, don't really worry too much about it. Just understand that you need to practice your patience a little bit more at that point, because as we're early on in the run, the trades come a little bit quicker, and then as we start to move further into the run, the trades still do come frequently, but not as quick. They take a little bit longer to formulate, so that's something you should bear in mind. S&P 500. The S&P 500 as well, I think we are in this expanding, which is absolutely stunning, but the only thing is we didn't get the commitment that we needed. We kind of had more than enough here. If I zoom in a little bit, the 15 paints it a little bit better, so I'll just go to the 15, and then you look at it over here, we kind of had this little tight correction which didn't really signify a great entry, but then we had this one where arguably you could have taken this and then set just around about 10 over here, which would have covered you for this, and you could have been in for that and you'd be running around about 3, so you might have walked away with 1-ish, 1.2. Overall, I just don't think that this is the structure that I would personally start putting my capital into. I would want to be looking for some follow through. I think this is the typical scenario where price just kind of scoops back up again. We kind of get this, price taps in up here and then sells off, and I think that's more so what I am looking at. Similar with the JP225, where price kind of created a floor down here and just correctively moving higher. This doesn't show any continuation, in my opinion, to any direction. This is just very messy sideways price action. What I can make from it is that we are getting that scooping nature up here, which is nice, and it's more than likely that we'll just correctively make our way back up to this section, and then we could evaluate for sells or for continuation to the upside. But more than likely, a lot of these yen pairs like Euro yen, New Zealand yen, they're still moving to the upside, so it's more than likely that while this corrects sidewards, those ones start meeting with their high value area, and then this one potentially just pushes up in the last final run, pushes up, breaks the high, and then they all power up together and potentially we get some really nice sells. So That's something that I'll be looking at, but more than likely we are sitting in a very good valuable area for the JP225, but it doesn't necessarily have to sell from here. This can still evolve, become something else, and a pattern within itself before we do see the sell. So that's something I would bear in mind. I was looking at WTI USD. So I had it on like more for softer watch since last. Now I'll tell you something about this, right? So we've had the near miss up here, which is completely fine. We've had this subjective first touch, but then we had the equal spacing, and then we completed on this 1, 2, 3. We approached it pretty impulsively. We're stalling now in this area, creating a hover. And if I go to the 4, we can see that this is a area where we don't really have 3 touches just yet, but we could still play the second to the third to come back up to then sell. I just don't think that this is the 100% structure complete yet, but what we can see over here is that we do have a little bit of a footprint there, and what's possible is that if we kind of just correctively make our way and we get there, or we don't even tap into it, let's say we almost get there and then we drop off a little bit and then we create something, you know, a little bit more in depth, then we could have something quite large. But then in proportion to that move, this just doesn't feel like that's the move, because it would be too large for the hover. So that's why I'm kind of convinced that what we could see is just this develop into something a little bit larger, and then we get something like that, and then that makes sense where we've had that, we've had continuation, we had this one, we've got that over here, and then we can continue and make the move to the downside. And then we look at something like this where we have moved from here to here, take that, move that here, and then that brings us into the downside there. So that makes sense to me. I just think that this needs a bit more weight to it, and we could get the short in there. It's just, it requires a little bit more patience. However, if I do zoom in a little bit more, could call it a little bit too zoomed, may not, because the momentum can kick in. We could just use that as a reference point. We can then evaluate this as the pin bar right over here, and then over here, are we technically ready? Because we have this little squeeze over here. Now this isn't my typical price action, but I understand that where this is positioned, this is still a possible scenario where we kind of correctively broke to the downside, and then we pushed up, we tapped into that level there with aggression, took out some liquidity, and then we're creating continuation, and we're just going to drop off. So we're accumulating that liquidity, we're accumulating the volume right now, and we've taken out the liquidity, so now we're going to be pushing to the downside. And that's kind of the way I'm seeing that this is a possible, because in theory this is enough. Like, we've had that, we took a break, we went down, we took another break, and we're going to go for the next move. And then if I take this to around about here, and if I take that, you know, kind of just, even if it was, I would more so look at it from here to here, because that was kind of where it started, and just got corrected from there. If I take from there, if I take from the break, it still pushes us into these areas here. So we have a clear run into these inflection points. So positioning wise, positioning in this area is not too bad, and that's the way I'm seeing it. So that's one of the reasons why I think that this could actually be quite a nice trade. We just need to see the commitment from here. I think if you get something like that, and then you get a continuation down here, maybe not as large as that, that could just be enough. Like, you've got this plus this, and then that just catalyzes to the downside. So that's what I'm looking at. GA sold off a little bit early for me. I wasn't looking for it just there, so it is what it is. I was looking for it to kind of come back into these areas and then look for an insurance entry to go to the short. We did kind of sell off a little bit early. I'm not too bothered, to be honest. Like, I would look for the buy more so if we came to this area, so happy to wait. USD Swiss is in line with the DXY. So as we saw with the DXY, if we are looking for shorts, USD Swiss would also be looking for shorts. We didn't quite tap into that. However, we could be seeing this come to the downside. So I would say be very patient with this. If something shapes up, great. I think at the moment we are coming into a great territory now, where if you just look at, you know, what we have over here, just got this sort of 1, 2, 3 sort of correction. This then becomes the sort of outside sort of pennant, not really clean price action, so I'm not really bothered about that. I'm also just looking at this, and this was just one big squeeze into the high. As we have that, what you want to really see is just commitment, so something to just drop off, get some clear continuation, and then we're in for the short. Something down here would be lower risk, of course, but it's just way too far away right now. I think if you could take that and manage it to the low, and manage it to there, or even there, that's completely fine. So so I'm looking for, even if that's a little bit higher, it's completely fine. As long as we're just coming from that solid push down, that's great. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD I'm going to leave alone, to be honest. I think I was looking for the short personally on this, and now if I just invert this, what's nice about it is we have rejected from this level here. So I'll just go to the daily, and you can see that sort of correct momentum into it. That's fine, but I just want to see something a little bit more significant before I start looking to go counter on that, because I was looking to play this range to here to here. I think this could more so be a more complex pullback. I'm not too sure just yet. We can see that this worked very well. We wigged through it, we came back down, we pushed. We could see continuation to that way. If we did get that, it would be something crystal clear where we have, you know, literally something like that, and then we go. I just don't think that that's the gameplay. I think what's going to happen is this is just going to get messy, and I don't think I'll get this scenario just yet. I think this could just develop into a whole bunch of mess. You know, it's one of those ones where I can't really tell exactly what price is trying to give me what message. So, you know, I need to wait and see how this develops. If I do get something like this, where we tap into this, and then all of a sudden we drop, get very corrective, we come back down with a 1, 2, 3, then I could probably say to myself, okay, hang on a second, if we push up, we create this, then I can go. And that would make sense to me. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would be looking at that for a potential trade. But that's the only scenario I'd really be looking for right now. So unless we just kind of drop off, create continuation down there and continue to the downside, that's the other scenario. So yeah. Then I've got Euro Yen. Euro Yen I was looking for longs, I'll be honest with you. Right now it's just come a little bit more choppier than I thought. There was a really nice trade in here which I took a loss on, which is completely fine, to be honest, because I think I would still take the same trade again. It's higher risk, of course, because we have all that push. We don't have any clear larger continuations or anything like that. It was just more so this. And the high risk part was we were sitting at the highs, but I thought I could play this into the expanding, so that was completely fine. Took the trade here, just on the break there, and it was protection was, I gave myself a little bit extra, 25. And yeah, I think there was room where I could have potentially thought, okay, maybe I could lock and break even, because I remember when this candle pushed down to here, I was looking at it and I was thinking, you know, do I hold it? Do I stay? And I just thought, let me hold it. Let me see what happens. And then if it pushed to the high 1%, I could lock and break even, and I would have been able to manage it. In this case scenario, I wasn't. It comes with the territory of risk, because I am trading at this significant point here. If this flag was a little bit lower, it would be a little bit better, but I was looking to play the momentum play, and I thought perhaps maybe I would have had more than enough to manage it to the high, but unfortunately I wasn't, so it is what it is. I guess if I did go a bit more tight, I would have been taken out regardless before I even got to that 1%. So I'm happy with the way I took the trade, the management, the thought process, the protection. Everything was pretty good in my eyes. Going into the next one, which is the additional pairs. So I've got Aussie US dollar. Now I'm actually not looking for shorts on Aussie US dollar. If I just, because of the DXY's movement, we could just easily smash through this, and then, you know, this is just up here, we create continuation, whatever, and then we just move to the upside, right? That's very possible, especially looking at where we are on that significant low. The nice thing is though, we are creating this continuation down here, but this could form as a reversal, but to continue to the downside, which I do like. If you look at it closer right now, we have just formulated enough. So in a sense, you could look for a trade literally as we speak. which you probably wouldn't see this video at the time, I just think that's a lot more higher risk. I think this is just an easy trap, but we could both be surprised on that. And yeah, I have to go 22 pips on that and then see that play. Have enough to manage the low there, but it's not a trade that I would take personally just because of the risk factors involved. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's very situational. If you want to take it, you can take it. Just understand the risks it comes with. I think, yeah, I just don't think that that's the one. Of course, this can commit. We can be down here next week, later this week, and we'll look back on that trade and be like, maybe should have considered it. But I think really and truly, if the DXY wasn't acting the way the DXY is acting right now, would consider it. But I don't want to mess with that right now, because I think you're asking for a lot of trouble at that point, and we don't want to be caught up in this potential massive sell, and then we're looking for that here. But yeah, overall I think this is decent. You could play the hedge play here and just bank that the DXY isn't going to sell and you're going to go long. Then you could play this. I think this definitely has potential, and I think New Zealand US dollar would also be shaping up at this point. Not quite just yet, which also could be a signal here in itself, because I tend to see that New Zealand US dollar and Aussie New Zealand tend to work together. But let's wait and see. Let's see how it formulates. Let's see how it shapes up. GBP US dollar. GU, I want to see it break the low. Even though the DXY is going up, I would want to see this come back in here. Maybe if we got something like that would be nice. Still wouldn't give me the risk entry, but I would then look for something like this and then be able to go long. Then that would be the trade that I would take. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see though, because right now it's still very, very premature. We don't have any sort of significant data to support our short. We just have literally the DXY that tapped into it. So I don't want to take all my trades based off just this just yet. I want to look for something very significant. I've got New Zealand CAD. Unlike Aussie CAD, it's not looking as great. We did tap into that low. We're pushing away nice on the daily as well, that we had that 50% retrace there, so it's giving us an indication that we are moving to the upside, which is nice. I just want to wait a little bit more, just to see how that formulates. Yeah, it was just about, if it closed just where it is now, I would have been a lot happier. I'm not going to mess with that today. EuroCAD. EuroCAD's one I think needs a lot more patience for me. I need to see it tap into this value area. Until we go there, I won't really be messing about with it at all as well. And then NJ I'm looking for longs, but it is looking pretty annoying right now because we're not getting it. It's just stalling, correcting, and a bigger move is going to come. It's just positioning yourself well enough in certain areas. I think even that, you know, we come back in, we tap into this area here, so then this comes back down, this becomes the larger move here, then we go fine, but then that correction is so much larger than that impulse, it puts you off straight away. So NJ, happy to leave it alone. I've got Aussie 200 now. Aussie 200 is technically in this corrective squeeze, so I wouldn't really mess with that. I did have a trade in here which had come out for 3%, but we did drop off for around about 6s, and 6 is what I was looking for. So hey, it is what it is. But I think overall, like if you look at this in perspective, from a high time frame perspective over here, it makes sense for this to sell because we have technically got more than enough. However, when I look at the high, I'm seeing potential first touch, second touch, or if you want to evolve that and look at it like this, you know, you've got something like that now where it's a little bit more irregular in my opinion, but that can still come up for one more, and then you can just get this move now up here, and then we see the big self go. So that's something I'll stay very sharp with, because that expanding looks sick if it completes. It doesn't technically have to, because there is more than enough in this whole area alone, where we kind of just pushed up, that becomes the M star, we push down, corrective squeeze into the low, and then we get an impulse push through, continuation down here, and we go. That's fine. I just think right now we're going to be looking for that 1, 2, 3 into this area. And the Germany 40 is still stalling, which is completely fine, because I think we're waiting for the S&P 500 to pick up enough, and then when the S&P starts to drop, DAX will drop as well. We're going to see some big movement. So right now, keeping it very, very relaxed. Going to wait for that to come up, come back down, and then we'll be good to go. So any trade below that ray line, once we break above, tap into the, don't have to fully tap into it, but would ideally be looking for it, tap into these areas and then drop. So just below the 17,200 area, I think is where we'll be going, and then we'll see from there. But right now we are in that extension to the long, so I would be holding my patience very, very calmly. And then what I've got on watch today, is Euro USD, because we can see what's happening with the DXY. If we do get that commitment and the push up, then we can look for continuation. There was this one trade in here which it doesn't show you on this price data, but for a lot of people that are trading on prop firms and they're using 8 cap, you can see it closer here, where we had this 1, 2, 3, and then we had an entry just there, which looks pretty good. And you could have squeezed in, it was roughly around about here, depending on what your spreads were. I would say 7 would be applicable at this point. I'd really go 10, but you know, then you'd be running around about 2. But personally, that's not my positioning. That's not the place I'd want to be entering the trade. That could easily come back down, become messy, blah blah blah. Not what I'm looking for. In terms of a trade, I'm looking for deliberate price action right here. I want to see that solid push up, continuation, and go in line with the DXY's forecast here, and then we can see that and just play that move. But right now, because I'm seeing things like the GBP USD and so forth, which have moved, we could see this go higher, which in theory then makes me think this is a good trade, right? And it says don't put this trade off, because these ones are not completely ready. But like I said, you're basically trading with fire in these areas, and once the trend is confirmed, and let's say we are in commitment, you know, then you're trading with the trend and you've got so much more higher probability. So this one's not even worth it in my opinion. It's better to just wait for something. But absolutely, you could take a trade like this, you could bank a few percent to the low. You know, the possibility, the potential is there. I just don't think you would want to rush into a position just like that. And yeah, look, that's what 2.3 to the low, and then you're trading into no man's zone. You know, this is, then you're hoping for 10, where on a different day when market is trending and you're getting in with the trend, you can make that 10% pretty easily, pretty quick. With Aussie US dollar, you're playing against the DXY, and I think it's a tricky one to be putting your own predictions against what current data is showing you. USD yen, so this is the one where I'm looking to see if we can get continuation to the upside, because as we can see here, we didn't quite fill, we filled it, but we didn't break above and push back in or anything. We just kind of tapped into it and sold, and now we're pulling back. And the nice thing about this is we've significantly pulled back further than 50% of this move. We actually retested it and now we're moving. So the nice thing about this is now we're looking for further move to the upside. I am looking to see if this is creating the floor, and then we kind of correct, we tap into this, and then we take the continuation and we move higher. That's basically what I'm looking at for UJ. If we do significantly push through for any reason, and then we create the continuation down here or whatever, then I'll be looking to go short. Euro Swiss, sorry. So not usual one for Euro Swiss, but I was between GBP Swiss and Euro Swiss, and I picked the wrong one. Really, I did, because I look at this and I was like, you know, I would have entertained something here. I would have seen this. It did kind of just near miss it, but hey, you know, I could have maybe. I don't know if I would have taken this trade, to be fair. But yeah, so you had the internal sort of pattern in here as well, where you had this kind of coming in here and so forth. It was very messy. So like I said, it's not something that I think I would take. And then we kind of just tapped into that, and then at that point there you could have said, okay, fine, that's my entry. Boom. Or you could set a pending order just a little bit lower, and just for safe measures, probably go 30, and then let that run. And then I would have probably been in that trade for about 7-ish%, but I'm okay with it, to be honest, because I got Euro Swiss, and if Euro Swiss is still stalling around here, we might simply just get this where we push up, push back in, create the continuation, and go. And that's what I'm looking for. This one tends to just drop when it sells as well, which is nice. So if I go to the 4, which is a little bit better because it's choppy, when we do sell, we kind of just correctively move, accumulate a lot of swaps and whatnot as well. So I'm not too married to this position. It's just one that I've just added. Just want to see what happens. If we get the trade, we get the trade. If we don't, we don't. I thought I'd throw a wild one in there this week. So that's basically what I'm looking at for Euro Swiss, and that's it for the week. So we've just got to wait and see. So currently I've got a live position, which you can see over here, which is on this. We'll wait and see what happens. It's this trade here. If I just pull that up so slightly, and that's it there. Happy with this trade. It's probably going to be a win, most probably going to be a solid win. The thing about it is, though, it's a situational one. I think you're trading into that massive move. You're playing this as a potential momentum flag, which isn't really got everything you need, but there's more than enough. And yeah, we'll see how that one plays. I mean, situational. I'm up for the month. I think I'm up by like 2 or 3%, which is nice. Month's just started, so we're doing pretty well. And then off the bat of last month, yeah, pretty phenomenal, just over 50%. So yeah, definitely going to be waiting to see how this one plays out, because I'm looking to bank around about 6% roughly. This is the sort of price target region I'm looking for. I wouldn't be surprised if we came back into this low and then we started creating something larger. So I will be more aggressive towards this low, just to let you know. As we reach the low, I'll be more aggressive, and then just kind of lock in 4 aggressively, probably 3.5. Happy to walk away with 3.5 there, and then 4, and then trickle 4.5, and then 5, and then 5.5 as price goes. I am looking to see if this can just impulse and just move, because we have seen some really nice price action when these patterns have basically had more than enough. We just see them drop, and that's what I'm looking for right now, but we haven't just got it yet. But let's just wait and see. Maybe London session's about to start soon in 3 hours, so we'll see 3 hours from now. Do we get an entry? Alright guys, have a wicked one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.